Something happened today that the entire world is talking about. And while most people are watching the news, arguing on social media, and sharing their opinions, a much quieter group of people is doing something different. They are opening their investment apps. They are checking oil prices. They are looking at gold. They are asking one simple but very important question. What does this mean for my money? Because here is the truth that most news channels will never tell you. Every major world event, every crisis, every sudden change in power sends a shockwave through the global financial system. And that shockwave reaches your wallet, your fuel prices, your grocery bills, your investments. Whether you live in the Middle East, Asia, Europe, or anywhere else on this planet, what just happened with Ali Khamenei, one of the most powerful political figures in the world, is already moving markets. Oil is reacting, gold is reacting, stock markets are reacting, currencies are reacting, and most people have no idea what any of it means for them personally. That is exactly why you are here today. In this video, Panda is going to break down what actually happened and why the world is paying attention, how this kind of event shakes oil, gold, and global markets, what happens to everyday prices when the Middle East is unstable, what smart people do with their money during uncertain times, and what you can do right now, even if you have very little money. No politics, no opinions, just clear, simple financial education. Because while the world argues, smart people prepare. Let's begin. Part 1. What happened and why it matters financially. Ali Khamenei was not just a political leader. He was the supreme leader of Iran, one of the most powerful and strategically important countries in the entire Middle East. Iran sits on some of the largest oil reserves in the world. It controls key shipping routes. It has deep influence over multiple neighboring countries and groups across the region. When a figure of that level of power and influence disappears from the picture, the world does not just pause for a moment of silence. Markets panic. Investors get nervous. Oil traders start moving. Gold buyers start buying. Why? Because financial markets hate one thing above everything else: uncertainty. Markets can handle bad news. They can handle good news. They can even handle slow, painful news. But what breaks markets fastest is when nobody knows what happens next. And right now, nobody knows exactly what happens next in Iran. Who leads? What policies change? Will tensions rise or fall? Will Iran become more aggressive or more stable? What happens to oil production and exports? These are the questions that every major bank, every hedge fund, every oil company, and every government treasury is asking right now. And while they ask these questions, markets move. Let's look at exactly what is moving and why. Part 2. Oil. The first thing that shakes. The first and most immediate market reaction to any Middle East crisis is always oil. Iran is one of the world's largest oil producers. It is a key member of OPEC, the organization that controls much of the world's oil supply. And the Middle East as a whole produces a huge percentage of the oil that powers the entire planet. Cars, factories, planes, ships, heating, electricity. When there is political uncertainty in this region, oil traders around the world immediately think one thing: what if supply gets disrupted? They don't wait for supply to actually be disrupted. They react to the possibility of disruption, and that reaction pushes oil prices up. Now you might think, okay, oil prices go up, so what? That's not my problem. But it is, because oil is not just petrol for your car. Oil is in almost everything. The fuel that trucks use to deliver food to your city, the energy that factories use to make products, the cost of flying goods across the world, the heating in cold countries, the plastic and packaging, bottles, and electronics. When oil prices rise, the cost of everything rises with it. This is called inflation. And inflation is when your money quietly becomes worth less because the same amount of money buys you less than it did before. So when you hear oil prices are rising because of Middle East tensions, what it really means for you is your fuel or transport costs may go up, your grocery prices may go up, the prices of many goods and services may go up, your monthly budget will feel tighter. This is why oil is the first domino. When it falls, everything else starts to shake. Gold, where scared money runs. Now let's talk about gold. You may have noticed that whenever there is a crisis in the world, news about gold prices always follows. Gold hits record high. Investors rush to gold. Gold surges amid global uncertainty. Why? Gold has been a store of value for thousands of years. When people feel that the world is unstable, when currencies might weaken, when stock markets might fall, when the future feels uncertain, they buy gold. Gold is seen as a safe haven. It holds value when other things lose value. It is not controlled by any one government. It cannot be printed like paper money. It has been trusted across every culture and every century. So right now, as the world processes what has happened with Khamenei, as tensions rise in the Middle East, as oil reacts, gold is likely going up. Investors, banks, and governments are buying gold as a form of protection against uncertainty. What does this mean for you? If you already own gold or gold-related investments, this moment may increase their value. If you don't, it doesn't mean you should rush out and buy gold today, but it does teach you one important money lesson. In times of crisis, having some of your savings in stable assets protects you. We'll talk more about what you can actually do at the end of this video. Part 4. Stock markets, the shaking. When big political events happen, stock markets around the world react fast. Let's understand why in simple terms. Stock markets are made up of thousands of companies. These companies sell products, provide services, and make profits. But companies don't operate in a vacuum. They need stable supply chains, predictable energy costs, clear trade routes, political stability in the regions they operate in. When the Middle East becomes unstable, many of these things become unpredictable. Companies that use a lot of oil become more expensive to run. Airlines face higher fuel costs. Shipping companies face uncertainty. Energy companies might gain or lose depending on the situation. Investors get nervous and start selling. When many people sell at the same time, prices drop. This is called a market sell-off. It doesn't always last long. Sometimes markets recover within days or weeks once the initial shock passes and more information becomes clear. But in the short term, you might see red numbers across many global stock indices. Now, for beginners watching this, if you have no investments yet, this doesn't directly affect you today, but it is a powerful lesson in how the world works. Political events create financial ripples that reach every corner of the planet. Understanding this is the beginning of financial awareness. Part 5. Currencies and inflation. What it means for everyday people. Let's now talk about currencies, because this is where the impact gets most personal for everyday people. When there is a crisis in the Middle East, a very common pattern happens. The US dollar gets stronger. Why? Because the US dollar is considered the world's reserve currency. It is the most trusted and widely used currency in global trade. In times of fear and uncertainty, investors and countries move their money into dollars. It is seen as the safest place to park money during global instability. When the dollar gets stronger, currencies in other countries, especially in developing economies, can get weaker. A weaker local currency means imported goods become more expensive, foreign products cost more, inflation rises, everyday people feel the squeeze in their wallets. Even if you live far from the Middle East, even if you have never heard of the Strait of Hormuz, even if you have no connection to Iran whatsoever, the price of your cooking oil, your fuel, your electricity, your imported goods can all be touched by what is happening right now. This is the invisible hand of global economics. Everything is connected, and now you can see the connection.